Hey, Brian from Roush Mahal. Today I have the Auto Aquarium Gravel Cleaner. It's the HD966 by Hygger. This is the 33-foot hose. And if you saw my house, it's a little bit of ways to the nearest bathroom. Obviously, if you're using this, you want to make sure that you are going to be draining it into like a 5-gallon bucket. I usually use my tub just because it's obviously lower than a fish tank. But keep in mind too, this water is like super nutrient rich. So if you have house plants or outside garden, outside plants, whatever you have, I like to save like at least a 5-gallon bucket worth of this water, just because regular house plants and your garden will absolutely love this water. So 33 feet also gave me the option I can run it down outside and to my garden. So I have a couple possibilities with that. However, it does come in a 25-foot range if you want something a little bit smaller. But again, 33 feet I think is going to be like the perfect length and amount. So let's open this up. And you can see right away, so you get a ample amount of hose. You get basically your sink valve that hooks on. So you can start your siphon two different ways. I'll show you both ways. One is you can start it from your sink and you basically unscrew your nozzle and you screw this adapter in. And then the other is basically just take a couple siphonfuls of water, but again, I'll demonstrate that to you on how to do both ways. And then let's take this all out and see what we get. And let me put this box down over here. So this is your 33-foot length. Again, you can get 25 feet if you feel that's what you're going to need. But it all comes down to like preference. Careful not to cut the hose. Okay, so, and it's a pretty good drain length width rather, so you can kind of like see how that goes. So we're going to throw this end off because that's going to be our drain side. And then they cut a couple different attachments. Put the hose in my pocket so I can grab it easy. So we open this up. So you do have kind of like a vacuum attachment. You can use this to kind of like clean your gravel as you go through. That is what you put your one end of the hose on. And it does have a little strainer in here to prevent larger rocks and debris from getting sucked up into the vacuum. Then this is your vacuum end. And so basically that's kind of like a pressure fit that goes on there. So that's great for getting down into your gravel. And like I said, you do have an end that you can put a kind of like a little bit of a scraper or a vacuum to kind of limit the amount of water flow that's going through this. And it is adjustable. We'll just take that back out. Put that little ball and socket back together. And then this is going to be your sink valve. So you got a couple different brass connections on here that you can connect it. This is probably going to be your most frequently used is this size that already comes attached. But again, it's going to be what fits to your sink and how is going to make the best connections. And then depending on your sink configuration, you might have a point where when you disconnect your little sink valve, you're probably going to use this adapter. So we screw that down. And then that will screw up into your sink, but we'll show you that in a couple seconds. And then your vacuum valve will attach to this, and then you have an on and off switch to it as well, which is super helpful. So let me grab the other end of the hose. So what you're doing is, I like to kind of like unscrew these completely. You put your hose in, and then you want to put it down onto the barb connection all the way until it like basically rests nice and snug. And then you want to tighten this down, and you want to make sure that this is snug, because this is what's going to keep the hose from backing off. And you'll come to a point where it kind of like stops, and then you can kind of continue, but you want to make sure that it comes nice and flush with that. So you make sure you have the right connection. And then same thing on this end. Unscrew this all the way. Put that hose on, then put that down flush to the barbs all the way to the bottom. Make sure you got it nice and tight, And then same thing, slide this hose back up, and you're going to get to a section where it's going to kind of like, feels like it's stopped, but it's not. So just give it another couple twists. It does take a little bit of hand strength, so definitely be patient with that. Okay, so that's good there. Okay, so back at your fish tank, if you have the sink suction going, you basically put this in and it would start sucking the water through the tube and, you know, emptying out into your sink. But if you don't have that ability to connect that adapter, which is on very few faucets, I just happen to have the exact faucet that it doesn't work with. But what you can do is just put your tube down like this, bring it up, and that's going to start your siphon for you. And then give it a quick second. You have to get your suction going. You can clear a lot of debris really fast, and then through your stones. And then this will all empty out through the sink siphon. And you can really get down into the gravel, clean the gravel really well. And then we can get into the in between the plants and the way back, since it has like a really long tube, so you can get all that stuff, all that algae. What a great way to reduce that bio load on your aquarium, because you can get to all those areas that you normally can't reach. And then again, at your sink siphon, you basically just turn the valve at the sink end, and after the siphon starts, you can turn that valve and then start filling your tank just as easy through this. Just make sure you adjust your water temperature so you don't give the aquarium a shock. So like, don't run it full cold water, obviously don't run it full hot water. Make it like kind of like a cold and a hot, and you can put your hand underneath that little nozzle and be able to feel what temperature it's coming out, and you go from there. Anyway, okay, so this is the end of the hose that you're going to be hooking up to your sink. It does come with a variety of different adapters. However, I do have like this Moen sink that it does not fit, but don't fear, because you can pick up one of these aerator kits and you can remove your aerator, and then the adapter will screw into place, and then you can use that to basically, that is going to create the suction, and then that will start filling the tank. So pretty easy to use. And like I said, unfortunately, I do have one of these fancier Moen sinks that came with the house when we got it, and even with all these adapters, it won't fit that. But what you can do is you can take this end and you are putting it in to the bottom of your tub like so, and then it will drain through that way.